Welcome back to a brand new legal breaking reporting and video analysis update and breaking news reporting. Unfortunately, this is an illegal temporary win for the Trump administration, Trump regime. An appeals court has unfortunately ruled that for now, meaning temporarily, that Donald Trump can command the California National Guard. Let's get into this new legal breaking reporting that was just published and released by NPR. The article, ladies and gentlemen, is titled, Appeals Court Blocks Earlier Ruling Allowing Trump to Command California Guard for Now. Ladies and gentlemen, and that article reads, just a couple hours after a federal judge had ordered President Trump to relinquish control of the California National Guard, saying he had violated the U.S. Constitution, an appeals court put the order on hold until a hearing on an appeal can be held Tuesday. The appeals court did not address the merits of the case or the judge's ruling earlier in the day, but it was a stunning turnaround in Northern California courts that will play out on Los Angeles streets. California Gavin Newsom had said he planned to return the 4,000 guard Friday to their regular duties, protecting the border, working on wildfire prevention, or returning to their day jobs. Instead, it looked as if they will continue under the command of Trump, facing off with protesters in downtown Los Angeles. Starting on Saturday, Trump federalized and deployed the state's guard and 700 U.S. Marines to Los Angeles over the objections of Newsom. National Guard units across the country are under the command of governors, but can be federalized by presidents. In his order deploying the guard, Trump said there had been attempts to impede in immigration. Agents in Los Angeles constituted a form of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. His lawyers cited images of burning cars and crowds blocking the movement of immigration and customs enforcement agents. That is a complete lie, ladies and gentlemen. Under certain circumstances, and under certain circumstances, is the president allowed to federalize the National Guard. However, under certain circumstances, meaning that these protests, the federal government cannot deploy the National Guard because it is not a rebellion or threatening or overthrowing the government like January 6th was attempting to do. Continuing with the legal breaking reporting. It was the first time in 60 years that a president had activated a state's National Guard over the objection of the state's governor. In 1945, President Lyndon Johnson sent troops to Alabama to protect civil rights demonstrators. After a hearing Thursday, a federal judge rejected Trump's rationale for taking control of the troops and ordered them returned to Newsom's control midday Friday, issuing a 36-page ruling after a hearing Thursday. District Judge Judge Breyers said Trump's guard activation violated the U.S. Constitution's division of powers between the federal government and states, which have broad local policing powers. Quote, his actions were illegal, both exceeding the scope of his statutory authority and violating the 10th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, Breyers wrote. It appeared the ruling was a setback for the White House in the dispute over the powers it can assert in cracking down on illegal immigration and over public opposition to it. Breyers rejected the president's claims that interference with ICE agents amounted to a rebellion against the government. Breyers is correct for rejecting those claims because the protests are not a rebellion. Take January 6th, 2021, for example, the U.S. Capitol insurrection. That was a rebellion because it tried to overthrow the government. The protests in California is not trying to overthrow the government. There is a major difference. And this one is extremely illegal, just as the January 6, 2021 insurrection on the Capitol was illegal. The only difference is Donald Trump deployed the Guard and Marines for illegal, unconstitutional purposes. Quote, the protests in Los Angeles fall far short of rebellion, unquote, Breyers wrote, adding that even when protests involved violence, there was not evidence that any of the violent protesters were attempting to overthrow the government as a whole, unquote. Judge Breyers is right. In a hearing before his ruling Thursday, Breyers rejected an argument by the Trump administration's lawyer that the courts do not have authority to review a president's decision on whether the National Guard is needed. Quote, "That's the difference between a constitutional government and King George. It's not that the leader can simply say something and then it becomes it," unquote, the judge said. That is where Donald Trump's lawyers are incorrect. The courts have the authority to review his unconstitutional, illegal, unlawful, wrongful executive orders, actions, and behaviors under judicial review. Breyers' ruling issued a temporary injunction against Trump's takeover on, of the guard. He also set a hearing on June 20, where the administration can try to argue why the court should not issue another injunction pending a full hearing of the case later. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom had praised the ruling in a press conference in San Francisco and announced his plans to send the guard back to the jobs they were doing before Trump federalized them. Quote, "I hope it's the beginning of a new day in this country where we push back against overreach, we push back against these authoritarian tendencies of a president that has pushed the boundaries, pushed the limits, but no longer can push the state around," unquote, Newsom said. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said in a statement that an appeal was coming and that Breyer, quote, "has no authority to usurp the president's authority as commander-in-chief," unquote, according to the Associated Press, adding, quote, "The president exercised his lawful authority to mobilize the National Guard to protect federal buildings and personnel in Governor Newsom's lawless Los Angeles," unquote. Yeah, but here's the thing, Miss Kelly. Donald Trump is hurting people. He is breaking the law by hurting people. Plus, he ordered the National Guard to shoot somebody in the face. Not only that, but he ordered the National Guard to shoot a reporter for no reason. They were just doing what their lawful rights are, which is to, one, report on the news, and two, to protest. That is illegal to order the National Guard to shoot people who are not attacking the United States. After the appeals court put a hold on Breyer's ruling, Newsom's office referred reporters to statements he had made earlier in the night before the hold. Quote, "I'm confident in the rule of law. I'm confident in the Constitution of the United States," unquote, he said, adding about Breyer's ruling, quote, absolutely it will stand, unquote. Breyers' ruling did not issue an order regarding the presence of the Marines through attorneys for the state also asked though attorneys for the state also asked for their deployment to be ended. In his comments, Newsom said it still, quote, doesn't appear, unquote, they've been actually deployed. In Los Angeles, though, he said, ladies and gentlemen, the is supposed to be they. So they in another location for training exercises. In the hearing Thursday, Breyer said he could not rule on the Marines, indicating that their deployment wasn't clear yet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this legal breaking reporting and video analysis update. If you did enjoy this legal breaking reporting and video analysis update, ladies and gentlemen, please firstly like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Secondly, if you want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please hit the bell icon as well as the all notifications option. The bell icon is located directly beneath the screen here on the right hand side of the subscribe button. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys also want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please follow me on my social media, so that'll be linked down below in the video description. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 180 plus subscribers. The reason, ladies and gentlemen, of why I am saying 180 plus subscribers is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 180 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 180 subscribers. Fifthly, ladies and gentlemen, please stay positive. Even though, unfortunately, I know it's hard for the majority of you, unfortunately, at times, to stay positive during these unfortunate, illegal, unconstitutional, darkness times caused by the illegal, unconstitutional Trump administration, Trump regime. I know that justice will prevail eventually, correctly on the correct side of law, despite Donald Trump and his illegal, unconstitutional regime and administration's illegal, unconstitutional executive orders, actions, and behaviors. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, and always look for the points of light. In today's unfortunate, illegal, induced darkness, caused by the illegal, unconstitutional Trump administration, Trump regime, and please stay safe. Until my next legal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen, please, I look forward to talking to you guys in my next legal breaking reporting, video analysis update, and legal breaking news reporting.